give me y. Okay, so I'm going to keep that graph because I'm going to use that graph as my example. Right, okay, so this is the third type of question. I did 2 types yesterday, didn't I? Yeah, so this is the third type of question. So continuing on, right, okay, so continuing on from yesterday, right, okay, number 3 will be solving f of k. Right? Now that sounds very complicated, but what it means is, example. If I said solve f of 3. Okay. Now what's different about this one? Yesterday we did something like f of x equals 3. That's what we did yesterday. What's different about today's? So don't write that down. That's just me pointing out yesterday's example. Right? What's different about today? Today it's the number is where? It's in the bracket. So that means if it's in the bracket, that means it's the what? The input. What is the input? X or Y? You put in X and you get out Y, don't you? So that means it's in there instead of X, isn't it? Right? So this time they're telling me X is 3. So this time they're telling me X is 3. So telling me X. So if they tell me X, what do I need? Need to find what? Y. Okay? If they're telling me X, I need to find Y. So different to yesterday. Yesterday they told me Y and asked me for X. Today the question is going to be, here's X, tell me Y. And how do you know they're giving you X? Because X is the input and it's in the brackets. Okay? So these are the clever ones where you have to figure out, are they telling me X or are they telling me Y? Okay, so yesterday's question they were telling me Y. Today's question they're telling me X. Yes? A what? Oh, that's just f of a number. Right, well I just put f and the number is in the brackets. Because the k will confuse you. Okay, is that better? Right, okay. So it just means it's any number, okay? Right, okay. So they're telling me X, need to find Y. Go to 3 on which axis? Which axis? If they're telling me X is 3 on there, but they're telling me X is 3, so go to 3 on the X axis, draw a line, oh wait, no, I'll put that in there. Draw a line up or down to hit the graph. Then you draw a line across and read off the number. Draw a line across and read the number. Now, last night's graph drawn. I'm going to use that as an example. You don't have a graph drawn, okay, so you can just watch me. Draw a line across. It's gone off, is it? Sorry. Is that what was wrong? Draw a line across and read the value. Okay, is that alright? So, this is how you do it. So I'm going to get f of 3. Okay, so, ready? Can I? No. Just wait a second. Now you needn't write anything else down because you don't have this graph drawn. Okay, but I'm just going to use the graph of last night's homework to do this. Okay? So you just need to listen. Can I take it away? Right, okay. So this graph, they're all last night's questions, don't mind them. Right, okay, so this time I want you to find f of 3. So because 3 is in the brackets, it's the input. So is it x or y? So you know x is equal to 3. So if they're telling me x, what do they want me to find? Y. So my answer is going to be y equals a number, isn't it? Right? So you go to 3 on which axis? X is 3. So on which axis? X axis. You go, it's telling you x is 3. So you find that on the x axis. So you go to 3 on the x axis. Now, you draw a line up or down, I said. Sometimes the graph will be down. Sometimes the graph will be up. So will I go up or down here? Up, because the graph is up there, isn't it? If I go down, I'm not going to hit the graph. Okay? So I draw a line up until I hit the graph. So how do you know when to stop? When you hit the graph. Okay? So that's how you know when to stop. That's a lot of people's problems. They draw the line, but they don't know when to stop. Okay? Stop when you hit the graph, draw a line across, and read off the number. So draw a line across and read off the number. What's the answer? 12. So y equals 12. That's that question answered. Right? I'm going to do another example. Use it again. You don't need to write any of this because it won't make sense because you've no graph drawn. Right? So if I go f of 1. Okay, so this is a different example, f of 1. So, are they telling me input or output? Input. How do you know they're telling me input? Because it's in the brackets. Is input x or y? X. Right, so they're telling me x equals what number? 1. So they're telling me x equals 1. So if they tell me x, what are they asking me to find? Y. So they're asking me to find y. So where do I find x equals 1? On which axis? So we go to x equals 1 on the x-axis, so there it is. Then you draw a line up or down to hit the graph. Up or down? Down. Right, because the graph is down. Look at it, it's down here. Hit the graph, right? Draw a line across and read off that number. Now you might be able to see it because I'm rubbing it off as I'm drawing it. So what the answer is y equals -2. Is that okay? Yeah. Do you think that question is good? Yeah. Right. Okay. So we've had 3 questions so far, just to recap. The first one is, where does it cut the x-axis? Another way of saying that is, where does f of x equal 0? Right? The second one we did yesterday was, they told me f of x equals 6. So they basically tell me what y is, find x. So here's y, tell me x. And today I'm saying, here's x, tell me y. Okay, so we've 3 types of questions done. Are we good? Right, they're the 3 most common questions. Okay, the next question, girls, is the minimum or maximum value or point. So I'm on question number 4, aren't I? The minimum or maximum point or value. So they might ask you for the point or the value. Right, okay. So remember, right, you'll only be asked this on a curve. You won't be asked this for a line. Okay, because a line doesn't have a minimum point or a maximum point. Right, remember our curves, we're either going to have a smiley face or we're going to have a sad face. Isn't that right, when we draw them? Okay, this is the points I'm talking about. Which one would this be? Minimum means the smallest, doesn't it? So this would be the minimum point, wouldn't it? So they'd ask you for the minimum point if that was the shape of your graph. And if this was the shape of your graph, they'd ask you for the maximum. Is that okay? Are we good? Right. And if they ask you for the maximum point, you would give a point. So if it said point, right? So if it said the min or the max point, you would give the actual coordinates of the point. So I'm just going to make up a few points, okay? So it might be 1, 4. Is that right? Something like that, okay? Or it might be -1, -5. Okay, I'm just making up these points. I don't have a graph drawn, okay? I'm just trying to make the point that if they ask you for a point, you give them the coordinates of a point, right? If they ask you for a value, max value, you just give the y value. So you don't give the point, you just give the y value. That's my next question to you. What do I mean by the y value, girls? Remember, it's xy, isn't it? Your points are xy. So which is the y value? 4. So you could just give y equals 4. What would I give here? Y equals -5. If I had another point that was 2, 7, what would I give? Y equals 7. Okay? So if they just ask you for the value, you just give the 1. If they ask you for the point, you give the coordinates of the point. Is that okay? Right, the y value is always the second. This is x, this is y. X, y on your points. Yeah, sorry. Yes. Say that again. Yeah, they'll ask you for the value or the point, right? Okay. And we're going to finish off the questions you did last night now together, okay? Right? So again, you don't need to be writing, you just need to look, right? Okay? So you have that down in your notes, yeah, as question number 4, have you? Yeah? Is everyone down? Right, okay. So you can stop right now and just listen, okay? So I'm on question 1, what we did last night. We did, yeah, you did 1 and 3. Let's look at 2. The values of y when x equals 2. So they're telling me x, aren't they? So what are they looking for? Y. So I have to go where x equals 2. Where will I find x equals 2, please? On the x-axis. So you go to 2, see it? On the x-axis. You would draw a line up or down to hit the graph. Which way? Down. You can't see. Oh, yeah. Oh, can you not see? No? Right. Can you see now? Yeah. Right, sorry. So you go to x equals 2. So I'll find that on the x-axis. You'll find 2 on the x-axis. You draw a line up or down to hit the graph. Which way will I go? Down. Right? And I only have to go down a little bit. There it is. And then you draw a line across so you can read off that number. So you draw a line across so you can read off that number. And what is that number? You can't see. It's -1. Right? Okay, it's too small. Right? Is that okay? So that's y equals -1. So they've told me x. So I'm telling them y is equal to -1. Are we okay? Right. The minimum point of the curve. The minimum point. Okay? So they're asking for the point. So that's the lowest down point. I just gave it to you there. What is that point? It's across 2, isn't it? Down to -1. So the answer is 2, bracket 2, comma, -1. Is that okay? Are we good with that? Right, okay. It's like, I don't know, are you all in the post-lunch slump? Yeah? Or are you confused? Confused I can fix. Post-lunch slump? Can't. So tell me, which is it? Anyone confused? Right, that's grand. You're all just tired after lunch. I can live with that. Right, okay, here we go. This one. So I've done, I don't know which ones I've done, 4 and 5. So number 1, the value of f of x when x equals 2. So are they telling me x or y? X. So if they tell me x, what are they looking for? Y. So where will I find x equals 2? On the x-axis. So I go to 2 on the x-axis. I draw a line up or down to hit the graph. So which way will I go? Up, 'tis there already. Okay, so I draw a line up. How do I know when to stop? When I hit the graph. So hit the graph, draw a line across and read off the number. What's the answer? 3. Yeah, y is equal to 3. Is that okay? Right. Next one, the value of f of x when x equals minus 2. So they're telling me x is minus 2, aren't they? So if they're telling me x, what have I to tell them? Y. Right, x and y are a couple. If they tell me one, I tell them the other. Right, so I have to go where x equals minus 2. So I'll find that on the x-axis. Go to minus 2. Draw a line up to hit the graph. And draw a line across. And funnily enough, I'm going to get what? 3 again. Is that alright? Okay. The minimum point, again point. They haven't asked me for value yet. Point. So that's this point here. What are the coordinates of that point there, please? What is it? No. Point. I want a point. 0 minus 1. 0 minus 1. So it's across 0 down to minus 1. Is that okay? Right. And then we had 3. So last night we did parts 1, 2 and 3. So I'm going to look at 4. Sorry. You can see, can you? Yeah. Okay. Part 4, the value of f of 2. Are they telling me x or y? X. How do you know it's x? Because it's in the brackets. If it's in the brackets, it's the input. In the brackets, input. Right? And therefore, if it's the input, it's x. So I go to 2 on the x-axis. I draw a line up or down, till I hit the graph. So draw a line down until you hit the graph. Then you draw a line across and read off that number. So what's the answer? Y equals minus 6. Is that alright? Okay, are we all good? Right, okay. The next one is f of a half. Are they telling me x or y? X. They're telling me x, so I have to go across a half. Okay, so half is halfway between 0 and 1, isn't it? So go halfway between 0 and 1, draw the line up or down, in this case down to hit the graph, draw a line across and read off the number. Right, what's the number? Minus 5. Okay, is that alright? Yes. How did I know to go from? Half. A half is like 0.5. It's halfway between 0 and 1. Homework, girls. Let's have a go at page 538, 7 and 8. Now put the time in, please, to answering the questions, because that's not a lot of homework. But I want you to put the time in to have a good think about them. Right? So page 538, 7 and 8. Okay?